Right on.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Neurodiversity Gold podcast with me, Good Morrow, and plugs at the top of the episode. Support our podcast, support everything that we're doing, and become an integral part of our podcast team at patreon.com/neurodiversity gold podcast. That is patreon.com/neurodiversity gold podcast. An exciting thing that we've launched, and you'll probably see it around LinkedIn, is that we've launched our new networking mastermind group. That's free to everybody for 30 days who signs up to it. We're aiming to have a networking event every month, a class delivered by myself or one of the other wise NTI elves every month, as well as networking, collaboration opportunities. And you never know, your next business partner, investor, or person that will take your business to the next level could be inside that group. So you can check that out on our website, which is neurodiversity-training.net. Today's episode is a guest episode again, and I'm joined by autistic ADHD community advocate and educator for the neurodivergent LGBTQIA plus community, a certified clinical sexologist. Now, this is going to get a really interesting whenever I get into that part of it. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome to the show Angela Locashio. Angela, welcome.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. And yes, it will be exciting talking about that.
Well, because whenever I look at show notes now, given the fact that this is an ND focused podcast, there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of things, and when you see words like sexologist, we were like, we haven't seen that before, so we're dying to know what that is. But I mean, before we get to that, I suppose what I would love our listeners to know is your autistic and ADHD kind of journey, which has led to the advocacy work you do now.
Okay, so I was diagnosed ADHD 23 years ago. I was 22 and felt like I needed some support. And for the first time in my life, I was able to get medical care because I was taking care of myself and I had a job and I had insurance. And so I went and got some support after being told that I had depression and anxiety and all of these things. And, my medical doctor was giving me medication and it wasn't helping. And I was like, oh my gosh, something has to change because this is not going to be my life. So I went to a psychologist and through some of our conversations, talking about drug use and the kinds of drugs that I liked to use and the ones that helped me feel good and the ones that made me feel bad. He was like, okay, definitely we have some ADHD going on. We need to get you some medication. We're going to, help support you in that. And that was life changing for me. Life changing. Um, Not life changing enough that I did not continue to have some struggles. And I was not diagnosed autistic until this year at 45 years old with the new research and all of the stuff that has been happening over the last couple of years, and needing to seek some support again, um, last year, going to the doctor, and very quickly she recognized, yes, definitely you have ADHD, but that's not all that's going on. Let's do some testing. Let's figure out what's happening. And so I started the process, and it was a long, difficult process. There are people who are still not informed, who are doing testing and they're not informed. And when you ask them about the testing that they're doing, they like to push back because they know everything. And then so when you bring something to their attention, like, were you aware that many autistic folks are also queer and that there's a connection? And can we look at that? And how does your testing support that environment? And just being told that even asking those questions is outside of the autistic realm is a very frustrating thing to have happen, which leads you to getting, moving on and talking with different doctors and finding people who are maybe a little bit more qualified. So getting that diagnosis and going through that process just affirmed to the teacher in me that I was doing the right thing in supporting the communities that I support. And I was very happy to be embraced by the community and supported by the community. It's more support than I've ever had in my entire life.
And what a journey that is, because even now, most, especially, but pretty much anybody that's not a white middle class male like Jude Morrow finds it incredibly difficult to get a diagnosis, whether it's autism or ADHD. And one thing that that champions like you are doing is kind of highlighting the intersectionality between neurodivergency and LGBTQIA plus, where there seems to be this huge overlap. And I mean, is that central to the work that you do?
That is 100% central to the work that I do. I help neurodivergent and queer individuals, professionals, and organizations. I should say allied organizations. That's what I do. That's what I focus on. Because that intersectionality, as you said, is not well known. It's not well discussed, but it is so right there in the midst of it. And you cannot look at one without looking and understanding the other.
Completely true. And I mean, it's great to see like services and individuals who are trying to make a difference, especially in highlighting this, because there's just the overlap I've seen even over the last 5 years, basically the length of time that NTI has existed, but in the format that everybody knows it as now. This is something that was like a whisper at the start, but has
Mhm.
grown and grown and grown over the years. So, I mean, I applaud all the work that you're doing in that realm. And I mean, let's move on to the sexologist part.
Absolutely.
Because I've been kind of waiting, I've been itchy to be like, what's a certified clinical sexologist?
A certified clinical sexologist is somebody who has studied human sexuality. We study and think about and immerse ourselves in understanding how people think about, feel about, and do sex and sexuality.
Okay. And I mean, what like what was your process in thinking, right, I want to become a certified sexologist?
Oh, great question. So I was 15. I was 15 years old and I wanted to be a sex therapist. Um, because and I can look back now and really understand, but because of my sensory needs and how I liked to be touched, um, and some of the ways that